Excellency Musalia. Your Excellency the PCS, karibu.
Thanks, Musa. Thank you. Be seated. Thanks, Musa. I must admit that we are spoiled because normally when you are the chief guest, you tend to speak last. So today I'm seeing something different. Okay. But dear friends, dear guests, without having to go through all the protocols by title, dear Kenyans, and indeed the person who has brought us here, I'll reserve that privilege for you, dear Tessie. I say thank you for sparing your evening and sparing your time, each and every one of you, to be here. I wish to specifically single out my friend, Governor Otichilo. He's my governor in Vihiga. And he sent word that he was tied up somewhere in the field in Vihiga, but he'll get here somehow. I'm so happy to see you as well. And also the other leaders who are here, legislators, ladies and gentlemen. I'm touched. I don't know what to say. The previous speakers have spoken so powerfully. And it is true that for Mercy, I was talking to her about a different thing, and she's the one who reminded me that I'm going to be there. Thank you. You spared time and you actually made it. I really appreciate that. My family is here, but I'll leave it to Balozi wa Familia to be able to do that when the time comes. She'll introduce us here so that she can at least cover that role. I also want to acknowledge an old friend, Mr. Kimemia. Thank you for coming. He has joined us. Most of you know Mr. Kimemia, and we are happy to have him with us on this evening. Now, I don't know what to say because I was going to steal something from her speech, but let me try and coin something. One of the things that is new in our space is that traditionally the spouses of political leaders have always been relegated to one corner and told that you should only appear when there's a ceremony, and appear and say nothing, and appear and do nothing. Now we are living in a world where that cannot work anymore. We have to go in the right direction, and the right direction is to work with our partners, to work with the family, so that we can also remove this veil that is a space that is preserved only for show. Tessie has stood next to me in times of victory and also in times of loss or defeat. But she has held out firmly stood firm and said, at least you are not dead. There'll be another day. And this is what has kept us going. So she has been active in a lot of charity work. She has championed a lot about medical programs. She'll speak for herself on some of them. She has been involved in a lot of charitable work. She has paid medical expenses for many, many people, especially cancer victims, whether it is at Kenyatta Hospital or elsewhere. I know she has been at it. Sometimes I've even asked her, where are you getting the money? And she says, my initiative and my talks to other people is enabling me to do that. So we are here and we see that there's drought. There's the challenge of drought. People are suffering and all that. And we wish that it would not happen or it will not come next door to you. But the reality is, these issues are finding us right at our doorsteps. We can no longer hide. We can no longer pretend that these challenges don't exist. I used to read a book that was called The Plague. The Plague is a book about Algeria, their fight for independence, written by a French author called Albert Camus. Albert Camus said in his book that death even creeps under the door. Death creeps even under the door. We have seen people who go into oxygen chambers, but death creeps even under the door. So, the trouble that we are talking about, disability, lack of food, lack of medicine, lack of school fees, loss of sight, loss of hearing, any kind of disability that you can imagine, it can creep under the door. It is not alien. It can creep under the door. So let us stand out. Let us come forward as a society, as people, so that we can pull together and work. And personally, Tessie, I'm very proud that you're stepping out and coming out forcefully so that you can, in your own way, complement other efforts, not necessarily mine, but other efforts by other Kenyans in helping and supporting our society. Particularly the needy. I had never been to Brazil before. I was there sent by the president to attend the inauguration of the swearing in of the president there, Lula. And one of the things I noticed was that as you enter, as you walk through the airport, all along, I noticed there was some strange path, and I was wondering who was designing this. It can trip people and all that. But then I realized it was the footpath or the path for the blind. So in every aspect of the airport, there is actually a path, and the blind people are taught that if you walk there, you know where you're going. All along, including eventually into the lifts. where the lift, there is braille. So if it is the 6th floor, the blind person knows that this is the 6th floor, and they're there. And I started asking myself, how many of our buildings, our malls, our shopping centers, have we even thought about this kind of thing? We have tended to relegate the issue of disability to a ramp in a building. That all you need is a ramp, and you assume that it is disability compliant. Is that true? There's a lot more to be done. Let us go beyond that a little bit, and then I'll stop. What does it cost? Let us talk of CBC. Let us talk of the cost of education. Those of us who are seated here, how much do you think it costs to produce one textbook of Braille? Personally, I don't know. But it is in the thousands to produce a textbook of Braille. What can we do as a community to make sure that we can make Braille textbooks affordable for more and more young children in our country? So there are things that are literally under our nose, but we take them for granted. And today, Tessie, you're stepping forward so that you can be able to share with us and jolt our minds so that we can work together. We have lost a lot of time, and sometimes we lose a lot of time dwelling on issues that are actually non-issues. Dwelling on issues that are actually non-issues. Yet the very substance of what makes us human is passing us by. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. It's not my evening. I was just a simple guest. But I'm so happy that you have come. And let us share a vision so that we can pull together in many different ways. It's not just about financial. It's about ideas, how we can leverage on technology, how we can be able to introduce legislation that is sensible and supportive. And the President has given me a role to actually coordinate all government legislation and all legislation that is useful. So if you bring legislation that is not useful, I'll not look at it. We will be looking for ideas and legislation and inputs that will help us improve society. So thank you so much. This is our Kenya Kwanza vision. We want to be able to work with everybody. We shall not discriminate. We want to reach out so that we can improve the livelihood of our people. We are not sitting well as an economy. Times are hard. The shilling is getting a beating at this point in time. So initiatives like the ones we are talking about will become very helpful because we cannot always rely on the exchequer. So we need to pull together locally with the private sector, with international partners like Jackson here. And it's true, we were together in Korogocho, where the river started off as gray, it becomes black, and when it gets to Makueni, it becomes green. And that is where we get the best fruits from. So, we have been recycling poison, starting here in Nairobi. Then that water is used for irrigation downstream. And those of you who are scientists, you know very well that some of these things do not degrade. They come back in a different form. So we have a lot of challenges, and we hope that working with our partners here and others, we can start changing the lives of Kenyans meaningfully. Meaningfully. I really look forward to the day that I will go and vote and simply go back to my work of the day. There are some countries, even if it is a general election, you'll not know that there's a general election. They vote and they continue with their activities. We pray and hope that that will happen here one day, that we can vote, finish, then get back to the business of working for the Kenyan people and not live in a cycle of electoral captivity all the time. So, Madam, I'm through. I don't know what is next. Am I supposed to? Okay, now that is where you didn't prompt me.